Today I'm answering Thomas V's question, what's the difference between empathy and sympathy in the workplace? And as a leader, when should I show sympathy and when should I show empathy? Hi, I'm Dexter, and for the last 20 years I've been coaching and mentoring senior leaders and young professionals. And now I'm sharing the gift of feedback with the YouTube community. If you're looking to excel in your career, consider subscribing for more tips, techniques, advice, and support in your professional career. And if you're new to this channel, you can always email me at thegiftoffeedback@gmail.com and I'll answer it in a video like this. So Thomas, this is a great question and thank you for asking. It's important for us to understand the differences between empathy and sympathy, but being able to clearly express and differentiate the two in real life situations is, in my opinion, a key component of being an effective communicator as a professional and as a leader. If you were to Google the definition of apathy, you'll see that it's a noun and it's defined as the absence or suppression of concern, passion, or emotion. Whereas sympathy is defined as the sharing of feelings between persons, especially in times of sorrow, trouble, or commiseration, which is just another way to say pity. Seems pretty straightforward, right? But if you look up the definition of empathy, you'll see that it says it's the psychological identification with or vicarious experiencing of the feelings, thoughts, or attitudes of another. And that's a horrible definition. I mean, who could understand that? Better yet, who could implement that in a workplace? Every employer looks for team members that's going to be empathetic to their customers. But with definitions like this, it's so easy to understand why this is so confusing. So I'm going to make things easier for you and give you a simpler definition from my book of Dexterisms. But first, I want you to think about sympathy as being the midpoint between apathy and empathy. Apathy is not my problem. Sympathy is you have a problem. Empathy is we have a problem. Still not clear? Well, let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're walking along and you fall into a ditch. And just as you look up, you see people walking by. If someone were to look down at you and say, "Oh, that's none of my business," then that is apathy. But if that person were to say, "Oh my gosh, it happened to me before. That was the worst. It took me forever to climb out. If I can get through it, you can too. Just hang in there. Everything will be okay." Then that is sympathy. But if that person were to stop and say, "Oh my gosh, that happened to me before. That was the worst. It took me forever to climb out. Let me go find you a rope," then that is empathy. Empathy is that feeling of, we are all in this together. Your problems are my problems. You are not alone. Empathy creates that feeling of connection that we all want because we're human. Humans are naturally social and cooperative beings. I mean, well, those of us that aren't sociopaths. But everything in our professional environment pushes us away from sharing our human side with one another. Most people with any semblance of pride will not want your pity. But most people will accept a rope or a ladder to help themselves get out of a hole. Each of us are naturally empathetic. That's why whenever there's a house fire or 33 Chilean miners trapped in a mine, we all gather our resources to help one another. And that's also why we're always glued to the TV waiting to see what happens. Because we know that if that was us and we were trapped and we were in need of help, we would hope that they would do the same thing for us. Empathy is our natural state as humans, but somehow in our professional lives, work has become a zero-sum game, meaning in order for me to win, you must lose. And that is largely a false narrative. In fact, the more cooperative we can be in the workplace, the more productive we can ultimately be. So Thomas V, this one's for you. To answer the second part of your question, as a leader, when should I show sympathy and when should I show empathy? Well, to answer that question in 30 seconds or less, always show empathy. Never show sympathy. As an empathetic leader, you should truly care about the well-being of your team members beyond the value that they bring to you professionally, and understand that whatever problems that they bring to you are your problems also. And it is up to both of you to find a viable solution. Now that we can verbalize the differences between empathy and sympathy, and we know how to express it in a professional environment, I challenge you to create the culture where apathy and sympathy are never acceptable in a workplace. And I promise you, you will have one of the best places to work. If you're looking to learn more about what makes a good leader or how to lead with empathy or empathetic leadership, check out the video to the right.